Onyxia.
Hello, this is the second Onyxia Dev Log where I update you on the actualities of the Onyxia open source project. What we've been working on recently is to improve the quality of life of Onyxia instances administrators. So previously, the problem that you would face as someone who deploys and maintains an Onyxia instance for its organization is that you had to know about 3 different version numbers: the Onyxia chart version, the Onyxia web version, and the Onyxia API version. And there was no official way to know what were the version of Onyxia API that were compatible with which version of the Onyxia web. On top of that, if you wanted to change some configuration of your instance, you had to update to the latest version because the documentation would only give you the accepted parameter for the latest version of Onyxia. This have changed. Now there's only one version you need to know about, and it's the Helm chart version. You can see on the Onyxia home repo that it's the version that appear in the release. So what does it change concretely? If you open your Onyxia values that describe your Onyxia instances, you can now remove the image section of the web and API scope. Because now the only thing you need to update is the version of the Onyxia dependency. So if I want to use the latest version 4.1.4, I would just update this 4.1.4. The Helm chart repo have also changed. It's no longer Helm chart, but it's Onyxia. And that's it. And now, what about this parameter? What describe the colors, maybe the extra links you may have in the headers, and more importantly, the API configurations, what catalogs you're using, what restriction you apply on the resources. Those are documented for the specific Onyxia version that you are using. You can click on the link that corresponds to the version you have deployed, and you have the documentation reference for your instance. You have the REST API parameter and the web application parameter. These are updated automatically, so they are always up to date. And you can see the link is pinned to the right tag. You can also access, if you go to your instance, at the bottom, you'll see that there is a version number here, and this will take you to the README with the instruction for this specific Onyxia instance. Something you also need to be aware if you are using our Keycloak logging theme is that when you update your Keycloak version, you're also supposed to update the version of the Keycloak theme that your Keycloak instance downloads. So for example, if I'm upgrading to 4.1.4, here I would update the URL to 4.1.4. The process of upgrading your Onyxia instance has also been greatly improved because you can now see in the release note what have changed, what PR have been merged, and the full change log. There's also a new section in the official documentation website to help you navigate the breaking changes. If I go on the landing page, go to documentation, there's now a new section called Migration Guide, where you will see the instruction to migrate between, like for example, Onyxia 4 to Onyxia 5. We just introduced this, so for now, the only guide there is how to upgrade from the previous Helm chart of Onyxia to the new one. You can start from here, and every time we will make a breaking change, you will be able to go to this section to know exactly what you need to change in order to upgrade. Another improvement we introduced in Onyxia is regarding accessibility. You can now zoom in or out in the UI to make the text appear smaller or bigger. You may think, yeah, so what? Every web page on the internet has that. It's handled by default by the browser. And you'd be correct, but actually in the previous version of Onyxia, it wasn't possible. The reason is because we adapt a very particular strategy to develop our UI faster. We don't care about responsiveness. We just assume fixed screen size, and we developed a technology that enables to shrink the UI down if the screen of the user is smaller. That's what we designed it for, or scale it up if it's bigger. You can see it in action here. You see if I resize the window, everything becomes smaller, but nothing changed beside this. Why do we do this? Well, because it enables to save a lot of time. Onyxia is more akin to a desktop app than it is to a regular website. Most of our users are using Onyxia on regular laptop with 1080p screen, and it's a waste of resources for us to develop responsive design. Responsive design is very time consuming. So how we've implemented that, you can see if you go in the technical documentation of Onyxia Data Lab. So you go to the landing page, documentation, technical doc, the web application, technical stack, and we added a new library that we maintain, which is Screenscaler, and which is a standalone library that you can use if you are in the same setup. You shouldn't use this if you are building a website that need to work on mobile and a lot of screen sizes. This is not a good idea. But if you are building a business-oriented app, you can better allocate resources by using this. So it's just something that you set up in your app, a function that you call, and you see, without using this technology, when you resize the windows, if you haven't done a good responsive design, you can see that here the cards are not all visible. The cards 3 and 4 are hidden. And when you enable the screen scaler, you can see that everything stayed the same. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you on the next devlog.
Onyxia.